Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy, the real Aaron Collins, coming to you with another rendition of addressing worldly issues in a godly way. It's a Monday, y'all. I hope everyone had a blessed weekend. So today I'm going to do a movie review on Avengers Endgame. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, Endgame takes place approximately, I think they said in the movie, 23 days after the events of Infinity War, where Thanos, after acquiring the 6 Infinity Stones to the Gauntlet, he snapped his finger and caused 50% of living creatures on the planet Earth, and I think even in the universe, to just completely evaporate in midair. We saw the disappearances of certain heroes that we love, such as Bucky, King T'Challa, uh, you know, as well as most of humankind itself. So after that, we thought it was the end, as usual. With one of the things I love about MCU movies, they have the Easter eggs in them. And at the end, we saw Nick Fury and his assistant also disappearing in midair as well. Well, Endgame takes place once again 23 days after those events. The film starts, it opens up with Iron Man, Tony Stark, and Nebula, who was actually one of Thanos' daughters, together on a ship. Tony is recording into an old helmet he had, possibly the helmet he had when he fought Thanos in Infinity War, as well as making recordings of anyone that's out there that's still left of humanity, and talking about what happened on the world. It happened to cause the end of the world, so to speak. Nebula is a sidekick. She's dealing with her own issues as far as her father. Talk about a dysfunctional family. Having a father like Thanos and a sister like Gamora. Of course, Thanos murdered Gamora in Infinity War, so you could say Nebula is an only child, so to speak. So we fast forward and see Clint, also known as Hawkeye, with his family. They're in the backyard having a barbecue, having some family time, some quality stuff, when Clint looks up and his family has disappeared also. He panics. He manages to get in touch with Tony. He gets in touch with Cap, as in Captain America, Steve Rogers, Black Widow, and Scarlet Witch. Well, no, not Scarlet Witch, but I'll take that back. Black Widow. She's Natasha Romanoff. That's her identity. They managed to all come together and talk about the events, what happened in the world, talk about things that's going on, discrepancies. Tony and Steve managed to put aside their differences, but you can see that there's still some tension there. And this is tension coming from Civil War, when Bucky inadvertently murdered Tony's father while he was under the programming of the Hydra technology. This was when he was the Winter Soldier. But anyway, so they're talking now, having a conversation, and even Bruce Banner is there with them. Bruce is managing to deal with his issues as being the Hulk, and he begins to realize how he treated the Hulk like a weapon and not as a part of himself. So he deals with that as well. Anyway, they come together, they're talking, and at the same time, Thor comes by. He's sitting around moping because he lost his entire planet. Asgard was destroyed in Infinity War. So he's got some issues to deal with Thanos on his own. He's still dealing with that. Whereas everyone's all discussing things. We even see, I didn't see Captain Marvel I don't know her real name, but she's even on the team now too. They pick her up, and while everyone is discussing things and talking, no one seems to really be understanding of what's going on. Everyone's trying to move on. Everyone's trying to just deal with the aftermath of what happened in Infinity War. We even see Okoye come up in a hologram video feed while they're discussing. Okoye is the leader of the Dora Milaje, who was the female bodyguards of King T'Challa, aka the Black Panther, and she's discussing. She doesn't have a major part with them, but she's discussing what's going on in a meeting between her and Black Widow and a few other people. Rocket Raccoon is there from Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's basically a hodgepodge of different characters from different groups, each one discussing their past hurts and dealings with Thanos. So in the meantime, everyone plans a trip to, I think it was called Vladimir. I can't pronounce the name, but this was a planet that Thanos was taking refuge on after he destroyed the galaxy, the universe, with the snap of a finger. So he's living there when the heroes crash land his party. They have a few words with him. Then out of the blue, with Stormbreaker, Thor kills Thanos. So it appears. We thought it was all over, but things are still not the way they used to be. So after they left the planet, they go their separate ways. It's 5 years later. Black Widow and Captain America are talking, and all of a sudden there's a knock at the door. And guess who it would be? But none other than Scott Lang. Scott Lang, aka the Ant-Man. So they discuss things with him, and he comes up with an idea on how to bring everyone back and to reverse Thanos' effect on the universe. He talks to them about something called quantum theory. I'm sure I'm getting the name wrong. The word quantum is definitely in it, and it involves time travel, going back to reverse the things that were put in effect. Quantum theory is also where Scott said he was holed up when he was the size of an ant. Because of his size, he was inside of some kind of chamber with his assistant. His assistant was supposed to let him out, but when Thanos attacked and ended the world, she disappeared also. But while he was inside this chamber, he mentioned that what took 5 years to him was 5 hours because of his size. So he discusses his plans with everyone. Of course, Tony Stark is very resistant of it because the technology he's unsure of it. He's afraid of it. And plus dimensions, he doesn't want to take the risk of losing his family, which is understandably so. Because there were a lot of losses since Thanos did what he did. There were a lot of things that took place. A lot of people, a lot of loved ones died. So that's understandable how things happen. It's a lot of tension there, a little bit of untrustworthiness. Of course, he's kind of in a way mocking Scott, but he doesn't realize because he doesn't really have much of a contact with Scott. The last time we saw Ant-Man and Iron Man together, they were on opposing sides in Captain America Civil War. So, which is understandable. And also War Machine is with them as well. War Machine has always been Tony's confidant. Captain Rhodes, he's always been someone that was close to Tony, always been someone that had Tony's back. and he tries to keep Tony calm because when Tony starts to get excited, he manages to fall unconscious while he's having a discussion with Captain Rogers about events. So anyway, Tony is talking to Scott, and he comes up with a theory called a time heist, where they literally go back in time and steal all the stones. But in order to do that, they have to go back to the exact moment to when the stones were actually taken. So at this time, this is taking place. It's supposed to be 5 years into the future from when Thanos waged war on the universe and on the world. But the tricky part is that they have to do this. If you understand something about time paradoxes, and I've seen enough time travel movies, in a time travel, you're not supposed to, in any instance, have any contact with your past self. Of course, we see that when they go back in time, Captain America manages to meet up with himself, and Nebula meets up with herself. She even shoots herself. And I don't see how that didn't have any effect on events in the present or the future. See, I'm confusing myself. But they managed to test this machine out, to test the theory out. And Scott, since it was his idea, him and Bruce Banner. Oh, by the way, Bruce is managed to also find a way to combine the Hulk with Bruce. So Bruce is looking more like the Hulk, but I can't quite describe it. You will just have to see it. But the Hulk looks more. He looks like a professor instead of. Anyway, we know it's Bruce. So back to what I was saying. Let me just get on with the story. While they're testing the theory, Bruce and Captain Steve, they're helping Scott test his theory, and they have him put on a suit, like a time suit. When he gets inside of the chamber and starts the test, he comes back as a baby and comes back as an old man. Bottom line, the theory of his time travel, it works. So he was managed to go back in the past as well as into his future. So Scott comes back. They discuss it with Tony. They manage to break Tony down. He comes, agrees to help them. He comes with his own idea, and he comes with his own technology to help out. So they get everyone together. They start to do the time travel. It's very risky. Oh yeah, they also managed to find Thor. Thor, who's now on in another area known as New Asgard with some of his countrymen. Thor has now become a fat slob, so to speak. His hair has gotten longer. He's began to have a penchant for drinking beer. That's how he's dealt with his problems in the current world, dealing with things post Thanos. Anyway, they managed to get everyone together for their very critical mission. They get enough suits for everyone. Everyone goes back in time to get the stones, and of course we already know it's definitely not without its obstacles and adventures. Everyone goes back to where the stones were first collected, particularly one incident where War Machine and Nebula were together. They were on the planet and it's a V sounding planet. They were on this planet. This is when we see Nebula start to become her true self, because she said during the time when they were getting the stones, it was her, Thanos, and Gamora. Before Gamora met Quill, they were after the stones as well. And this is when Nebula managed to reveal to War Machine, aka Rhodes, what her intentions were then. They also managed to go take Scott with them back to the first time the battle in New York, where the Avengers first assembled. And there's during that time when the Hulk, in his new reformed self, manages to meet one of the Ancient Ones, who was actually a friend of Doctor Strange. The Ancient Ones is the wizards that can have the ability to manipulate reality. So while she's discussing with the Hulk, aka Bruce Banner, about the dangers of manipulating time, he manages to come to her and tells her that he manages to convince her, let her know that there's different realities in time. It could become ultimate realities, but if they come back and they do it right and put the stone exactly where it is, it's possible they could cause the time space continuum to be uninterrupted and unaltered. So she decides to trust him and to go along with him. So Bruce manages to win the Ancient One over, and they get that stone. Meantime, Captain America and Tony are having issues with getting their stone back, because at the time, during one of the battles that they were dealing with, they had to deal with agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or maybe Hydra, which caused their stone to be a little bit more complicated, because theirs was in a metal case. So this is where Captain America had to recruit the services of Ant-Man, who was able to manage to shrink himself and go inside of Tony's. Tony told him to go inside of his body to where his heart pendant was and manipulate that, which caused him to go into a convulsion, which was all the distraction that they needed for Rogers to go grab the briefcase. Because it was during this time when they were walking with the briefcase, they had Loki in captivity. Loki is Thor's half-brother, the god of mischief. They had him in captivity. Well, all havoc broke loose. Somehow the stone came out of the briefcase. Loki managed to grab the stone. See, there's some things that happen that would manipulate, what we would call manipulation of time, that could have altered things in the future. Why that was not explained, I'm not sure. But bottom line is, after they managed to get all the stones together, they managed to take everything. They managed to thwart Thanos, because Thanos, this is the confusing part. The past Thanos managed to realize, somehow they was able to co-opt Nebula's thoughts. This is when, once again, I'm saying this is when Gamora, before she met Quill, when she was still with Thanos and Nebula. Somehow her past self and her present self were able to communicate with each other, which caused some kind of reaction in Thanos' brain, which made Thanos very suspect. So he had one of his scientists, Mal, go into Nebula's brain, go into her memory banks and see what was going on. And they managed to see her recording of her talking to War Machine as the other Nebula. It's confusing. There were two Nebulas, the past Nebula and the present Nebula, but they somehow, I don't know how it happened, but she was able to give off a signal to her past self that they were there to retrieve the stone. Thanos was able to catch on to it and realize that in the future, he knew he was going to be killed, and he also knew that he was going to take the stones and what was going to happen. So it was even then that even during the time travel that things that happened were supposed to happen when they happened. I just confused myself. That didn't make sense. Anyway, y'all, they managed to, just fast forwarding, they managed to get all the stones. A great battle ensued. It wasn't that easy for them to give up the stones to begin with. It wasn't that easy for them to grab the stones. But they got the Infinity Stones back, managed to get the gauntlet back, and they snapped their fingers and reversed everything that Thanos did. Everyone that was in the Infinity War came back, all the heroes. You had T'Challa, Falcon, Bucky. Who else was there? Valkyrie Valkyrie never disappeared, though. Valkyrie was in Thor Ragnarok. All the heroes, everyone that was lost, everyone that was ever seen in any of the other MCU films, they all came. It was a great battle. They managed to get the stones back. They managed to somehow the gauntlet was able to shrink itself down, and Tony Stark wound up having the gauntlet on him. He snapped his fingers. Thanos and all the evil forces disappeared. But at the same time, Spider-Man came back too. At the same time, because of the battle, it managed to cause Tony's his heart pendant to go out. So Tony Stark, he lost his life, but not without saying goodbye to everyone. So, in conclusion, I will say that this film was literally an ensemble and a finale, so to speak, of all the Avengers films ever put together. And the fact that they didn't have any Easter eggs in this movie tells me that it's quite possible, just follow what I'm saying, that there will not be any more Avengers films with them together. I never said that there won't be any more MCU films, but any more Avengers films with these particular folks together. Because now that Tony Stark has passed on, they can have other adventures and do other things. However, we still have Captain America, after he went back in time to do what he had to do to put the stones back to take a stone back to. He had to go back in time to do something, put something back in place. But while he was there, he managed to do the things he wanted to do because he saw the woman that he wanted to be with. Because him and Tony went back and saw to the 70s. Tony was able to see his father, make peace with his dad, and at the same time, Cap managed to see a woman that he fell in love with. Well, he spent time with her, came back as an old man. He gave his shield. He gave his shield off to Sam. Passed it on. Sam, aka Falcon, because he was friends with Tony as well. Friends with Steve. And we saw his best friend Bucky. We don't know what's going to happen. Bucky is going to probably have his own. But there were two sacrifices in the film. Black Widow sacrificed her life when she and Clint were on their mission. They were both actually fighting on who would sacrifice their lives. But Clint tried to take his own life. Black Widow tried to take her own life. But when Clint noticed that Black Widow was not letting him, she told him that you have a family to go home to. He told her to tell her family that he loved her. She told him, you can tell them yourself. So basically what she did in much the same way Gamora did. She jumped off the cliff because in order for them to get their stone, which is the soul stone, it had to be a soul for a soul. The red cape figure in the film would happen to be none other than Red Skull himself. He told them that only one of you will be able to survive. That's why they were fighting. That's why Natasha and Clint were fighting in the first place on who would sacrifice their life. Since Clint had more to lose, he had a family to go back to. Natasha decided to take her own destiny. So it was pretty noble, this film. It had some moments in it that were not quite understandable, that weren't exactly explained. But anyway, like I was saying before, I believe that is the end of all the Avengers films with them as an ensemble, with them together. I believe they're going to now start doing films with them alone. Meaning, I hear that Black Widow is supposed to be having her own standalone film. Don't quote me on that. It's all speculation. It's something that I just heard. I don't know if it's completely etched in stone. But one thing I do know for certain is that Black Panther 2 will be coming out, and Spider-Man 2 will be coming out. So as far as the MCU films are concerned, I think there will be more of them. I think there will be more movies of that ilk, but as far as the Avengers movies, I believe that was pretty much put the cap and a crescendo on all the Avengers films. Because even at the end, during the credit scene, you had all the characters, all the names of the actors that were in all the films encompassed together. So that right there will tell you that this was like a conclusion. It was a pretty good film, though. 3 hours long. And they had to tell all those stories. I'm sure me doing this review, I'm sure I missed out on a lot of things. I left out a lot of things. But I'm trying to do this review as much knowledge as I do have as possible. Let me know, everyone, how I did on this. You're going to do it anyway. But yeah, just let me know. I hope I gave everyone some information. Hope I gave this interview good. Yeah. But anyway, everyone, like, comment, subscribe. Almost said a certain word. Like, comment, and follow. Like, comment, follow. Let me know what you think. Hit the bell icon to be notified. It's nice today. Let's get outside. Yeah, hit the bell to be notified when I drop new videos. I'm gonna also possibly be going live today. We'll see. We'll see. Don't quote me on it, but I might go live today. Need to start doing that anyway more often. Working on my watch hours. Want to start building those up. Get some nice door prizes. Anyway, support the channel at paypal.me/TheRealAaronCollins. And yeah. So yeah, this is a break from the normal stuff that I talk about. I like to talk about movies too, though. So anyway, everyone, I know I'll probably look like a hot mess. I'm a little bit tired, but it's time to get up. Get up and enjoy the outside, enjoy the weather. I'm going to do that too. But once again, everyone, like, comment, share this video. Let me know what you think. And remember, God loves you. I love you. Let's do life.